Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with yet another Plannosaurus release, and this time we've got one that I think many people are pretty hyped for. This is the Giganotosaurus, so definitely really cool to have another theropod in the line. We've had a pretty healthy mixture of different dinosaurs in this line so far, and I know there is also a Parasaurolophus coming. There's a sauropod now that will be coming out at some point. I think maybe it was a Brachiosaurus, can't really remember too well. I like that they're starting out with kind of like your basic species, and I'm hoping that as time goes on they progress into more obscure species. But you can see the front of the packaging looks pretty much like it usually does. It also has a strong glare coming off of it because it does have a pretty nice satin shine finish. You've got the Plannosaurus logo down here. You can also see a sneak peek of the dinosaur over here and some super cool art for it. Pretty intriguing to see a little bit of feathering hanging off of the elbow of our Giga. But then when you move around the packaging, it's pretty much the standard stuff that you usually see for this type of figure. Again, you've got more here as you move around, and then just basically some info over here on the other side, and then some more images, some more random images over here. So let's go ahead and pop this box open and check it out. So as you can see, once we open the box up, we've got tons of stuff inside, as we always do. We've always got lots of pieces to put together, all kinds of stuff in here. Unfortunately, some stickers, yuck. And then the booklet telling us what to do exactly. So I'm going to go ahead, get this built up until we have like the skeleton part ready, and then we'll check the skeleton version of the Giganotosaurus out from there. So we've got the Giganotosaurus skeleton now assembled, and you can see it does look pretty cool. Definitely pretty much your standard when it comes to these Plannosaurus skeletons and stuff. It does have a fairly decent sculpting amount of detail to it. Nothing over the top, but decent for what it is. You still have articulation like you usually do. You can open the jaw, which can go really wide actually, and works perfectly. You also have the ability to move the head and neck around, which if you look at it from the front, it can basically just move all over the place and also swivel. As you move down into the neck, you have the ability to move the neck left and right. Yep, up and down a little bit too. So if you keep it in just the skeleton phase, you can definitely get some really cool possibilities as far as posing it goes. The arms go forward and back, also out away from the body and stuff. Like, you've got some decent mobility with those arms. You can see you can get them pretty much all over the place. And of course they can keep swiveling if you choose to. You do, of course, also have leg articulation, forward and back, also out away from the body and everything. It's got like a ball joint articulation in that area. Same deal for the knee. Let me go ahead and get a readjustment here for a better angle. You can see you can move the knee forward and back. You can actually go back pretty far, so you can get a nice running pose for the dinosaur. And then one last bit of articulation down here for the ankle. And then you've also got the tail, which can go left, right, up, down, and swivel again. And then you've got one more spot out here that could basically just go up and down, not really anything else but up and down, just for a little extra added excitement when it comes to the posability of the skeleton. And you can see again, it's a pretty decent version of the skeleton of our Giga, but of course we want to see it once it's fully assembled, so let's continue on that path. So the Giganotosaurus is now put together. Let's actually just take it off of the base. The figure is put together. We've got the skin on it. I have not applied all of the stickers because I hate the stickers and I don't intend on applying all of the stickers. I think it just makes the figure kind of ugly and really takes away from the fine detail of the figure. But I did apply a few just to kind of show you guys how ugly it really is. But again, it looks pretty darn fun, honestly. Definitely a decent looking version as far as a Plannosaurus figure goes of a Giga. So let's go ahead and jump to a closer look and we'll check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Giganotosaurus, I think it looks pretty nice. It definitely has some decent detail, has a fairly decent looking skull shape and everything. You've got the nostrils sculpted out right there. You can see some nice looking scale detail. The eyes are applied with stickers, so they of course look pretty ugly. They're definitely not perfectly placed either because they're actually really quite hard to get onto the figure. The dinosaur, though, on the plus side does have a little bit of color without the stickers. As you can see, we've got a greenish tone for the upper side, a darker gray for the underside. You do have an articulated jaw for the figure, and I did apply some of the stickers to the inside of the mouth as we have a pinkish tone that goes in there and sort of runs up along the side. of the jaw on both sides, and then basically overtakes where the tongue should be for the figure. Doesn't really show any detail because of the sticker, but, you know, at least it gives it the coloration there. Not really anything going on for the inside of the mouth on the upper side, though. You could basically just see the skull that was in there, and of course you can still see the teeth that are part of, again, the skull, the skeletal reconstruction, but it works pretty nicely. Again, that jaw is actually really smooth and closes nicely. Up here on the top of the head, this is our first dose of the ugly stickers, and outside of the eyes, the only dose we're going to see me apply to this figure. You can see, again, I think, why I don't like them. It just does not look good. It honestly drowns out any ounce of detail that might have been there, and just generally looks so childish and ugly. So that's all I'm going to do for the stickers. Probably going to take those off after the review is over. But as you lead down through the course of the neck, you can see some ridges pick up here on the back of the neck. As you lead down, you can see some decent skin texture here in the neck. Again, we continue to have that grayish tone moving down along the throat. You can see the detailing here of the throat looks pretty decent, and you do have the ability to articulate the head up and down, a little bit to the left and right as well. So you can see that right there. You also have the neck articulation right here, which is basically left and right. A little bit up and down, but not a whole lot. As you move down into the body, you can see again, we lead down, we've got some decent looking skin texture. And one thing that is kind of cool about this one, and they almost had the right idea, is we've got a little variation of color on the upper side of the dinosaur without using stickers. Now, unfortunately, it's only part of the figure. So you can see we've got a dark green up here on the back. And even though the transition is abrupt, this is a separate piece that is already, again, created and molded in that greenish tone. And then you have the alternate green that is pretty much the primary body color down here. But there are some more stickers that could go right here, and you basically create a striping pattern down the tail, which you can see those are right here. I did not use those. There's also some more of this like pinkish tone that is supposed to go along these ridges moving along the back. I didn't use that either because, as you can see, the stickers do not look good. I wish they would just include like decals or something that you could apply in a way where it will like really grab onto the body and then make the actual decal or whatever that you're using look a lot more natural rather than just very unnatural like these stickers do. But as you move down here into the arms, the camera refuses to focus on it. You can see the arms look okay. You've got some decent skin texture. You do have feathers like we saw on the box, but they're very small. Like you can see, they're really, really tiny little feathers sticking off of the back of the arm. You've also got the fingers sculpted out. Okay, a little muted when it comes to the detail in some areas, the nails as well. But of course, they are not painted. They do still articulate though, which is nice. You can go forward and back and kind of move them out away from the body a little bit. So you've got a little extra articulation there. As you continue to move back, you can see we've got the thigh and everything sculpted out nicely. You've got some decent skin texture back there for that area. My camera, for some reason, really hates certain colors, like reds and greens. It seems like it has a big problem with. So if you see when I get closer, it starts to look really goofy, and then when I get further away, it looks a little bit better. So we'll just, I guess, stick to looking at it from a little bit of a distance. But as you move down, you can see the thigh and everything. Again, the foot sculpt looks okay, definitely muted in the detail, pretty much overall on the figure. But again, you do still have articulation here. You've got articulation in the hip, which can go forward and back and out away from the body. As you can see, you can actually come up pretty far. You again have the knee articulation right here. I don't know if you can swivel. Nah, it doesn't really do anything other than forward and back. And I think that's about it, yeah. That's all you get when it comes to the leg articulation. Once you actually put the skin and everything on the dinosaur, the articulation isn't quite as impressive as it is when it's in the skeleton phase. But as you move out here into the tail, you can see again that we return to the greenish tone for the body, and that's because we were meant to add the striping out there on the tail. I just did not do it because I just really don't like the overall appearance of the stickers. But you can see we do still have that gray moving along the underside, though it cuts off completely as you move out to this last section of the tail, and it's a very abrupt transition, which is a bit of a bummer for that area. You have more articulation right here though. You can go up and down, left and right a little bit, and then another spot right here, up and down, left and right, just adding a little bit of extra posability for the figure. So When it comes to the Giganotosaurus, I think it is pretty fun. Of course, the addition of the articulation is really quite nice, and definitely fun to be able to pose the figure. But yet again, I really wish they would come up with some new method without the stickers for these, because the color scheme that they had originally chosen for this, I felt like looked pretty cool, and it looks a little naked now without the striping down the tail and stuff. But overall, again, when it comes to a Plannosaurus version of a Giga, it's definitely a cool figure. Now, one downside to the Giga is the fact that it can't really stand independently. Unfortunately, it doesn't really have any balancing skill whatsoever. So no matter what position I seem to try to put it in, it's always going to fall forward. It's definitely top heavy. It does have like these little slits on the underside of the foot, and then there's this little connector piece that you get with it so that you can then take that and slide it into the bottom of the foot of your Giganotosaurus, and then it does stand really nicely on the base. So unfortunately, without the use of the base, you're definitely going to have some issues getting the Giganotosaurus to stand, but once you put it on there, it does stand pretty nicely. You can get some cool poses and stuff for it as well. As far as the size goes, it's pretty much exactly as you would expect it to be. Lengthwise, from the snout to the tail, you were looking at about 9.5 inches or around 24 centimeters. And height-wise, now this is of course in the position it's in. You could create a taller look for it if you want to pose it more upright, but in this position, you're looking at just a little over 3.5 inches or a hair over 9 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Plannosaurus Giganotosaurus from Bandai, and you can see it's pretty much exactly the size you would expect it to be. If you are familiar with the Plannosaurus figures at all, you're going to know roughly what the size is of this one, because none of them really seem to differ too far from any others. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus stepping in here for a comparison next to the Giganotosaurus, and you can see again kind of similar in size, with the Giga just being a little bit larger. So this brand new Bandai Plannosaurus Giganotosaurus is, you know, pretty much as they always are. These figures are fun, but I don't think I'd ever give them a higher rating than just being fun. They're not anything that I would say is excellent. They're not anything that I would say is amazing. They're just kind of fun for what they are. The actual building of the dinosaurs, I can definitely say, is actually a lot of fun. I genuinely enjoy it. I really do look forward to building them, especially the skeleton part is just for some reason just such a blast. But the final product kind of has a cheap feel, and this is something I think I've been saying since the beginning, where they just have like a cheap plasticky feel. They don't feel high quality, and a lot of the time the parts kind of pop off when you try to articulate them, and specifically when you try applying like the skin and stuff, sometimes they're a little tricky to keep together. So there's a cheapness to the figures overall, but at the same time there is like a pretty decent appearance to them, and specifically this Giga I think is probably one of the nicest looking ones sculpt-wise that we've seen so far. Of course, there are some areas of, you know, muted detail, but for the most part, the detail looks okay, and if the figure actually had a more detailed paint job, I think it could look pretty decent. The stickers are absolutely awful. I hate them. I wish they'd just go away, replace them with decals, or just have the pieces painted already, or even just give us the figures with no color at all, and then leave it up to us to paint. But because I tried to review the product itself for you guys all the time, I just kind of tried to assemble it for the most part the way that it's meant to look, and just exclude some of the stickers because they look so terrible. And again, I've done that here by just adding a few of the stickers to the head to show off how bad it genuinely really does look, and it does look terrible. But the figures do sport some pretty fun articulation, which is definitely a very nice thing. I really quite like the ability to pose and display them in different ways, and this Giganotosaurus has some pretty fun articulation like they usually do, so that is definitely a plus. Overall, it's definitely a fun figure, but nothing that's absolutely amazing. And if you actually happen to have a Hobby Lobby near you, I recently found the Plannosaurus T-Rex in Hobby Lobby, so they're starting to carry some of these Plannosaurus figures. But if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased my Giganotosaurus on Big Bad Toy Store. Unless they're sold out, then I'll try to find a different link where maybe it's still available and you can grab it from there. But one way or another, again, it's a pretty fun figure, just nothing too amazing. But if you are interested, check that description, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.